Well, my earliest recollections of playing at Muny I was a kid. My brother Charlie is 15 months older than I am, and we started the game. I was 7 years old and Charlie was 8, and my dad was a lawyer and a good player here in Austin, and we had the benefit of being members of Austin Country Club, but I did probably most of my early playing here at Muny, and really I was just like any other kid whose mother or dad dropped us here at Muny, and they got us at the end of the day, and we spent long hours out here, and it kind of formed my early recollections of playing with other people. And we just happened to have a bunch of little juniors who loved to play, and we'd just play out here all day. And what we usually did, we played around, and then we'd always end up on this putting green. And we always were very aware of Harvey Pinnock when he started us out in the game, of the value of the little short game. So we chipped and putted a lot, but we'd always end up with a little putting match here at Muny. But the togetherness part was very conducive of meeting people and relationships and people who were like-minded. But I found here at Muny that everybody enjoyed the game. You know, it didn't matter how old you were, didn't matter where you came from. This was always a happy meeting ground in that you could recreate in a beautiful place, and it was obviously very handy because it's centrally located. But I guarantee you could ask anybody who played at Muny when they were a kid, they have sort of deep thoughts about it, because it was it's a playground. We did other things here at Muny. We played, when the first hole here that went up north was not busy in the fall, we'd throw the football around on the first fairway. So there was all sorts of, people were always just here. I think the important milestones that I had was that when I was 10 years old, I shot a 74 out here, and I was going to Cassis Elementary, and I had an incredible day. I remember it, and I'll never forget going back to my house, and Dad said, "Well, what did you shoot today?" And I said, "I shot 74," and he kind of looked at me, he said, "All right, son, you have to sit down here and tell me every stroke." And he didn't believe me. But I was very proudly went through the card, and he said, "Well, that's good, son." And it kept going that way. Now, when I was 13 years old, I was playing with my friend William Cromwell, who is 2 years older, but he is now the president of our Austin Golf Club. We were a lifelong friend, and we were playing on the 5th hole here, which is on that side over there, and the hole is actually backwards now. The tee, the green was where the tee was, and I shot it uphill, and I made a 5-iron and went in the hole for my first hole-in-one. And ironically, 2 days later, I was playing the 11th hole here, which was towards another direction. I made another hole-in-one with an 8-iron. So those are my two earliest recollections, important ones too. So, but yeah, hole-in-ones are kind of freakish when you think about it. That's what you're striving for, but when it goes in, you go, golly, how lucky was that shot, Harvey Pinnock always had a great saying about a hole-in-one, or if somebody holed out their second shot on a par 4, and in other words, hold a pretty long shot, somebody would always tell Harvey about that shot, and Harvey said, Now look, I want you to go and thank the greenskeeper for cutting that hole right there. Otherwise, that was a nice way of alluding to that hole out. Part of the beauty of what people, what strikes them when they play the course, they just say, God, you've got some magnificent trees, especially oak trees. We've got, Austin's blessed with some specimen oaks that people know are historical, and they've read about them, and people revere them. Well, we've got some of the very best here at Muny. I mean, not only around the clubhouse here, that oak there, as oaks go, people say, well, they do preservation and age on oak trees. I guarantee you that's 200 or 300 years old. But there's some specimens down on number 6 that are just magnificent. They're enormous. But this place is special because it's beautiful, number one. It has when you look out across the holes, you see the hills in the background, the lakes nearby. So from that aspect, I think it's very peaceful, and its surroundings add a calmness to your life that if it were not here, it would be devoid of something that we've all enjoyed as a precious asset. So obviously those factors are some of the top reasons why people want to cling on to it and save it and provide it for future generations. Well, my involvement with saving Muny was always, obviously from a preservation standpoint. I'm a golfer. I'm a proponent of golf, and I happen to think this is one of the very best places to play in a public situation, but also where it is. I'm a product of West Austin. I grew up here, and I love it. And you want to show people where you're from, and you say, you want to show people this beautiful spot. And the University of Texas obviously means the world to me, as it means to so many other people. Yes, Colonel Brackenridge deeded this tract in the 20s, and he deeded other tracts in other cities. Obviously, San Antonio, Brackenridge Park in San Antonio would not be what it is without his magnanimous gesture. It happens to have golf upon it, and it has a great fiber of life in San Antonio. And obviously, this is a small part of the Brackenridge tract, but I really think that that both sides can really. I was always hoping that the sides would come together and preserve it in a mutual way, in a mutual respect. Obviously, the city understands what it means to UT, and UT understands what it means to the city. I really think a situation can reveal itself in a little bit more time and study. Obviously, golfers were hoping that UT would renew the lease. Muny's had 3 leases in its lifetime, but the bottom line for me, I just can't see this place being developed. I just have to be really honest about that. It's not that I don't have any hatred for UT or anything like that. I just think it's too precious of an asset, and it just simply means too much to people. And I just think that recreation on a place like this is invaluable. I really do think that it helps the fiber of our community in a societal way. And I can't stress that enough in the way that I feel about it. It's too good for too many people. It provides a reward for clean, healthy living and learning how to get along with each other. I just think that that's so helpful. The fact that it's here, obviously, it's valuable because of where it is, but I still think something can come together. I really do. We would play all day, and we'd always end up on this putting green. We'd always putt for either a little carton of milk or we had these little round pecan pies, and I think they cost 10 cents, but that's what we'd putt for. If you lost, you had to buy somebody a little carton of milk or a pecan pie. Until we got a little bit later, and then the reward started going up a little bit, but believe me, it meant something when you lost. This putter I've had my whole life, and I got it for my 15th birthday, and my dad bought it for me as a birthday present when I was 15, right here at Muny. And this putter won the '84 Masters. And I've got 13 of these 8802s, but they don't feel like this one. And I putted with it my whole life. But I got it right out of the golf shop here for $15. So I had a good return on investment. It's a very special putter. You know, golf has allowed me to travel all over the world, and I've seen different places in a public setting. Obviously, I've been to private clubs all the way, you know, from Australia to Japan and the British Isles, but I've also seen public situations where every time that I go to either England or Australia, I always see people in their 70s and 80s. They're out there playing golf, and they're in a pretty golf course, public. But I start thinking of cities that I've been to, cities that have great parks. You go to Memorial Park in Houston, and you go to City Park in New Orleans, and you have Brackenridge Park in San Antonio, and you have Bethpage Park in New York, on Long Island, and you have Harding Park in San Francisco. Golf and the parks are mutual together. They provide not only, yes, there are places to play golf, but the park systems themselves mean so much to their cities. No one could imagine New York without Central Park, although golf is not played on it, but you can imagine what New York would be without it. So parks mean so much to so many people, especially in an urban atmosphere. They're important. They're a long-living legacy of those planners who, yes, it was provided for the mental health of their people in their way of life. I mean, if anything, they wanted people to escape a dull urbanity. So that's why they're so important. And luckily, as a traveler, I've seen situations, you say, well, gosh, what would this place be without it? So I see it in that vein as well. In people's minds, if they go back to the beginning and Colonel Brackenridge being the benefactor and giving the gift, I suppose people will argue with semantics. That is their right to do so, but it always had said the highest and best use. I just don't think that, in my opinion, I think maybe Colonel Brackenridge, after all these years, would say, I generously applaud those that be that this place is here in such a pretty setting. Yes, one could argue that strongly. Some people think that it means something else, possibly in terms of a monetary situation. That could always be argued, but I don't think that, I think there are a lot of people who also believe that in this precious asset and how it's intertwined with the city of Austin and its practitioners in the form of golf and other recreation. I think that he would probably nod and say that's a wonderful use of this property. I think that in the end result, for the beauty of its land, its asset to the community in terms of not only enjoying a game of golf, but how it means the wealth of its people. It's an asset to be preserved, and I'm foursquare of saving Muny.